starts in 1 minute. And now, on with the show.
There you go. Hello, everybody that's here today at the very last show at Interdrone. So let me just check my audio levels, looking around all my different kind of cameras and things like that. Let's see, everything's working. I see all you people there. It's fantastic. All right, let's see, got some messages. So I'm sure this has been unusual for you as it has been for me. This would be my very sixth Interdrone. So let's see, I was at the very first one, and they had me speak there about television and film production for drones. And of course, you know, 6 years ago in drone life is like 100 years ago in dog life, right? So you have the technology changed so much. I can remember when I first started, and you know, we're all doing shots after the trade shows, and we're all flying our drones up and down the Las Vegas Strip. There was no FAA laws, there's no FAA rules, there's no controlled airspace. There's drone racers flying all over the place. So it was a really good time. It's kind of like the Wild Wild West, right? For drones. And then about 3 years ago, as we all know, the FAA comes along, and of course, I think they had to, right? Because like I said, there was drones flying around all over the place, and you'd go to the park and your friends are drinking beer and they were flying their drones, and people were crashing, you know, people were crashing into their houses, and they're crashing into their neighbors' houses. So it was really out of control. And 3 years ago, the FAA jumps in with the support of most of the industry and said, you know, hey, look, we need some laws. We need some rules and regulations. And 3 years ago, we had FAA 107, Part 107. By then, I was entrenched in the drone sort of industry, like, you know, right at the very beginning. So what I was able to do, fortunately for me, because I've been in the extreme sports end of television and film production, I was able sort of to transition quickly into using drones for cinematography and photography. So going into this story, a lot of people always want to know how to get into television and film. We'll talk about that story towards the end of this hour. It's an interesting story, and for most of you, it'll probably never happen that way. But for some of you that are in the industry, I'm sure you'll be able to appreciate my start in the drone part of it. So what we did with this seminar was we kind of just broke it down into, hey, you got a drone, you got your license, how are you going to make a little bit of money on that? So first, let me give you my background real quick. So normally it's not this quick, but I'll try to make it quick. I got 20 years in television and film production. The beginning of my career back in like 1998, I was a cameraman producer for Fox Sports. I was there for 5 years. And pretty much if you were watching Fox Sports Net from 1998 to 2002, all of the extreme sport content was produced by me and my crew. So what made the production work that we did extremely unique? And we're talking about the Hermosa Beach Games, the Huntington Beach Games, Baja 1000, Moto X, Metal Militia, all the extreme sports stuff, right? Jet ski racing, freestyle, luge, you name it. So what we were trying to do was our department, our group, we we really wanted to bring the viewer into the action. Now remember, this is before camera gimbals, this is before the GoPro. So and this is when cameras weighed like 50 pounds and they shot on videotape. So the idea, the concept here was to sort of break the cameras apart and mount the lenses, mount the sensors on the vehicles, and then have a way to record that on a separate recorder. And for those of you that maybe got into film and television a long time ago, there was something like that out in VHS. There was I think JVC made a VHS camcorder that had the camera was separate from the recorder. So we kind of did that, but they kept breaking. We kept breaking these $50,000 cameras. So Fox really wasn't happy about that. So one of my guys came up with the idea of actually taking the lenses and the sensors and putting them in those those metal uh, um, flashlights that the cops used to beat on you, right? The metal ones. And so we put it in there, and then we put resin in there and foam. And that's how we mounted these cameras. And we mounted them to jet skis. We mounted them to supercars. We mounted them to cars. So a lot of the stuff you started seeing in the earlier days of extreme sports on Fox were cameras that we were figuring out how to mount onto vehicles to put you guys in the POV, put you in the action. So what we ended up doing was, let me switch over here, it makes it a little easier. So what we ended up doing was the cameras started getting smaller, and then they started becoming digital, right? So the digital explosion came in, and the high 8 cameras and the mini DV cameras and the HDV cameras and all that. So it was really easy for us to work on mounting them in different kinds of rubber mounts. So I kind of became known as creating the extreme sports genre at the network. And then through that, I started working on a lot of what they call second unit jobs in the industry. So I kind of was the guy that was working with the stunt teams and stunt coordinators to create super high impact, really exciting videos. Now we can fast forward through all this stuff, the rest of it. I worked at Apple. I worked at Google. I helped with the technology that created the content for the iPhones. So that really brought me into the tech world, learning how to work with all this new technology. And then about 2012, the DJI Phantom, the first one came out. I don't know if anybody has one of those, but I still got one in a box. So the first one came out, right? And I got it at a trade show. Interdrone wasn't there yet, so it was NAB. And it was great. So I got this box, I brought it home, and I didn't know what to do with it. I'm not a remote control guy. I'm not former military. I had no clue. So it was hilarious, right? And battery lasted for 10 minutes and had all these little lights that you turned on. And I'm flying in the trees and crashing in my sister's house and flying it down Hollywood Boulevard. Didn't know what I was doing, flying all over. Well, a buddy of mine, he's a stunt coordinator, and his name is Robert Aravella. If you look for the credits in most of the Robert Rodriguez movies, he's the stunt coordinator. He does all the fight scenes and the shootout scenes and all that. And he was on a sci-fi movie, the sci-fi TV network in Los Angeles Forest. And he said, look, let's bring that drone and we'll get some really cool videos and everything. I'm like, okay, great. So we get a GoPro 2 at the time, and we just glue it. We duct tape it to the bottom, right? Velcro it to the bottom. And I go out and I'm flying in a scene where you have these zombies fighting these space aliens. It's sci-fi. It's low budget, like Sharknado kind of budget, right? And so, and if any of you guys that are watching this or been in the film and TV industry, so I'm flying the drone all over. There was nobody to teach you how to fly these things back then. And it's dipping down into the screen, into the frame, and the director's going nuts, and the actors are ducking, and everybody's just like, oh my God. So we ended up getting like 10 seconds of usable video of the GoPro 2. And we discovered a new thing. It was called Jello. So for you guys that started, back then, so you get this really weird vibration from the motors on the drone, and it just ruins the shot. So what the director ended up doing was, because of all the scenes that my drone dropped into his shot, they ended up digitizing the drone and turning it into some alien orb that was firing laser beams. That, ladies and gentlemen, is my start in the film and television industry as a drone cinematographer, director of photography. So from then on, the drones thankfully got better. I mean, really better, really quickly, right? Next year, the 2 came out, and then the Phantom 3 came out, and then the gimbal came out, and then the 4K camera came out, and then the Mavic Pro 2 came out with the 1-inch sensor, changed everything. Now, I'm not endorsing any particular brand of drone. I'm just telling you what I use. So when the Mavic 2 came out with the 1-inch sensor, that allowed professional cinematographers and photographers like myself who had switched over to DSLR cameras because they had a 1-inch sensor and could be broadcast actually in a movie theater. It gave me and provided a depth of field which resembled the movies, and that allowed me to sort of take that DSLR camera, shoot professional TV shows, professional movies on low budget. And then when the 1-inch sensor came out in the DJI Mavic 2, that allowed me to match those cameras. So that was a game changer just 3 years ago, right? I mean, really, or 2.5 years ago, the Mavic 2 came out. So I started doing a lot more television commercials in my field, BMW commercials, car commercials. So that gave, it was really important for a guy like me that's in the professional field. Along the way, I actually ended up becoming a teacher. So I'm a college professor, go figure, right? So I'm a college professor at Grossmont College in San Diego, El Cajon, and at Los Angeles Tech in LA. And the guys that gave me my start are the Unmanned Vehicle University guys out in Phoenix. For some reason, they had all these military flight instructors, and they thought it'd be great to bring in somebody from Hollywood to teach people that, wanted to learn how to fly drones that didn't necessarily want to know how to fire missiles with their drones. So they brought me in, and there you go. So in the last couple of years, I've created my own courses, I've created my own curriculum. My emphasis, obviously, in training has been on photography and cinematography. However, I always get into these debates with everybody in the industry. The debate is that, is it more important? Cinematography and photography started this industry, and now when you look at the verticals or the lists, and maybe it's why I'm last here, I don't know, but we're always last now, but yet we're still the driving force of the industry, cinematography and photography. The bottom line is, for you people out there that are on this seminar, if you're doing solar inspection, if you're doing housing inspection, if you're doing power line inspection, if you're looking for if you're trying to rescue somebody lost in the field, you have to know how to use a camera. I mean, that's pretty much the bottom line here. Whether it's a LiDAR camera or any other kind of camera, you don't know how to use a camera, you're not going to find that person that's lost in the mountains. You're not going to be able to find the busted roof from a hailstorm, and you're certainly not going to be able to find where electricity is arcing across the insulators on a high power tension line. So believe it or not, I also am certified to teach those things. So I've placed people at PG&E. I've placed 6 students at PG&E. I've placed students at half a dozen students in insurance companies as insurance adjusters. So, we go through the process, but my love is cinematography and photography. So that's what I like to do. As a matter of fact, yesterday during one of my sessions, I had to disappear and go do a shoot. So now, Skip, how do we make money? Well, what I find, and I think maybe you'll find that I do a little different from most people, is I'm kind of sort of unfiltered in just the definitions and the answers I'm going to give you to some of your questions. So first of all, let's start with the low-hanging fruit, right? You get a drone, and you can do this with a Mavic Mini too. So just so you guys know, if you don't have a drone, you can do this. So first of all, I'm talking to the people, the attendees right now that are just starting out. For you people that are in the industry, maybe some of you that come over from your booth or exhibitors or whatever, I'll talk to you guys later. But right now, I'm just kind of looking at the people that are starting out. So you haven't got a drone, you want one for Christmas. And so the low-hanging fruit, real estate. Okay, real estate's easy. I mean, it's so easy. So people say to me, well, what can you charge? And if you go to other trade shows, you go to other seminars, and who's ever answering that question just sort of hems and haws and dances around it, Facts are, I'm in the field every day. I shoot real estate. I shoot commercial real estate. I film real estate. I'm a working drone pilot in addition to being a flight instructor. So this is what you can get. You can shoot pictures of a house. You can make $150. It doesn't sound like a lot. However, if you dial in with a realtor, and that's your realtor, and you guys are buddies, then maybe you're going to get 10 houses, 15 houses, 20 houses. I was very fortunate. I've dialed into a realtor that I think I've shot for her maybe 30 houses, pictures. So $150 a house. You do the math. I don't have a calculator in front of me. So what are you looking at when you do you make those $150 jobs? How quickly can you get it done? I can do a $150 job in 20 minutes, one battery. Because real estate, like a lot of photography and cinematography, has a formula, right? Has a template. So what are realtors looking for? They're looking for 3 shots that they call, I'll put this up in a second, 3 shots that they call listing shots. It's not rocket science. Realtors used to do it themselves with a camera. So listing shot is the front of the house, the left side of the house facing the front, the right side of the house facing the front. It goes in their listing books. So with the drones though, they added another listing shot, which is about 100 foot up and back so that you can see the house and the property. So 4 pictures, 1, 2, 3, 4. One from about roof level, which is where the realtors, if you can imagine a realtor standing out in the street with a camera, click, right? That's about roof level, let's just say, or the eave. So 1, 2, 3 pictures and then up 100 feet. Then realtors like these thing called cardinal images. So again, I might be speaking to the, the choir here. A lot of you might know about this, but if you want to shoot real estate, you're going to need to do cardinal images. Now the word cardinal, that's based on a compass. So, the headings of a compass for you pilots out there, so I know my pilot stuff. But when it comes to photography, it's really not the headings of a compass because maybe the house is crooked, maybe it's facing northeast and southeast. So what cardinal images really mean is they're each flat side of the building. So whatever's flat. So it could be your north, south, east, and west. And then the corners, northeast, southwest, right? The corners of the building, 8 shots. Usually realtors like it from at least 100 feet with a little bit of the horizon so that it shows the neighborhood from all different angles. And then if you have the opportunity and you're in, depending on what controlled airspace you're in, they like it at about 100 feet to 150 feet, up to 300 feet. Commercial jobs that I do like it at about 300 feet because they're usually in commercial areas. So what are we talking about here? We're talking about 8 cardinal shots and 4 listing shots. So that's it, $150. Most of the time, you don't even have to color correct it. And I'm going to show you guys what that looks like. So I'm going to put on my little glasses here so I can press the right buttons. So let's take a look at that right now for this second. So we're going to get into videography, but right now, I just want to talk about the photography. So here we go. Okay. So for those of you that don't know anything about cameras, and maybe you don't, maybe you do. The most important thing to remember is your rule of thirds. And that's really easy to remember on any single drone you buy because usually they put a grid. They'll put a grid, right? Your DJI, they ask you. And DJI, same thing with Autel drones. There's a grid. So you put up your grid because that'll automatically give you a rule of thirds. So that's the first thing that you guys need to know about. Now, this is a listing shot. That's a property shot. That's the house. You can see what's difficult about that house is, one, I have a power pole in front of it. I got power lines to the side of it. And it's on an angle. So it is, again, it's not going to necessarily be facing northeast, south, and west. What I'm not going to talk about here is stuff you guys should probably already know. I'm not going to talk about, getting your air map or Kitty Hawk or any of those waivers to fly in an area. I'm not going to talk about DJI Unlock. I'm not talking about any of that. We're going to assume that if you're sitting here listening to me chit chat away, that you already have your 107 license, that you already know how to get a waiver, that you already know how to unlock your DJI drones. I'm just talking to you about the bare minimum shots of how you can make $150 if you do real estate. By the way, let's see, before I get back to that. So by the way, how do you want to know how you get to a realtor? You do it old school. So realtors sell their houses by actually going and having open houses. Realtors like, eye to eye, like, this eye to that eye. They like that. So how did I get a lot of the realtors that I'm working with? I took the best photos I have of real estate and I put them on a 5x7 super glossy card and like a postcard, and I put my information on the back of the card. I printed 100 of them at Staples, and then I went downtown and I just walked. Which is healthy. Walking is good. I walked down the main street and walked into every realtor and said, I'm a drone cinematographer, I'm a drone pilot, I'm in the area, here's my card, here's some of the work that I did. If you ever need anybody, give me a call. So I handed out about 100 of those and I got 5 calls. Like, well, that sucks, right? 5 calls. But out of those 5, that was like 3.5 years ago. 3 of those people I'm still working for, and the jobs are consistent jobs all the time. So, you don't necessarily need to meet volume, but you need to do the work. If sending an email or connecting with them on LinkedIn or anything like that, realtors, forget that. That ain't happening. You're never, delete. Just remember that, delete. Okay. So if you're doing real estate work, and trust me, if you get one realtor, they'll start talking to the others. The commercial job that I have, the commercial real estate job that I had, came from a residential realtor talking to a friend of hers that does commercial real estate, and that job has been significant, and that's been for 2 years, and that's video, and that's photos, and that's commercial, and that's $500. Count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, but let's get back to what you guys need to know to do something really simple. And one other thing, I know you guys can ask me questions, and I know they're going to forward them to the chat, and I will answer them when I get done with all this stuff, because otherwise I have to keep taking my glasses on and off, right, to read the screen, and then do I need permission from the other property owners? No, those are my pictures. All the pictures, every picture you see is mine from work that I did in my presentation. Every video that you guys see here is my own presentation, and people that have said yes to it. So this is all my stuff. So that's a great question though. Anyway, so there you go. Oh, one last thing. I'm sure some of you people have heard of DroneBase and Droners.io. They're kind of like Uber for drone pilots. A lot of people will trash them because the rates are crappy. However, you're getting paid to practice and to hone your skill. So I don't think there's anything wrong with, that. It's like, in some cases, what's your choice? You could sit home and you can look at videos and go to seminars like this one, or you can make $50, $75, $100 and do a drone-based mission and go out and take pictures of a house. So I'm not necessarily opposed to any of those sourcing sites. And in some cases, they might be a good little way to earn extra money. I will say one thing though, for some of the pilots that I've placed in higher end jobs, the industry now are requiring you guys to have verifiable hours. And a lot of times in PG&E didn't even want to talk to anybody that didn't have 50 flight hours, a drone time. So a great way to get that is getting paid a couple dollars every time you do a job. All right, so let's go back to this. So this is your listing shot. Rule of thirds, very important. All right, and this is also part of your listing shot. So I drew some lines on here for you. This is a 2-story house. And what I want to do is I want to kind of shoot as high as the eave, but it's sort of a split level. So it's very confusing. You can see the split level over to the right. So I put the drone kind of at the height of the split level part of the roof. And the first shot would be this is the house. So this is your second shot that you want to do in a listing shot. Full property shot, building in the center, and you need to pull the drone back far enough to get the entire property line. Okay, so that's pretty easy. You want to do the left side, right? So the left side, the key is when you're shooting from the side of the house, you want to be in the front of the property, and you want to make sure you get the side. So the shot is basically putting the corner of the house in the center of the shot, and then getting the side of the house and the front of the house. And that goes the same thing for the right side. Now, my right side shot isn't quite as tight as I'd like it to be because there's a big tree in the way. So, you obviously have a lot of things to worry about. You have trees, power lines, power poles, lights. So you have to shoot around those and work around these. But the realtor that I shot for was very happy with these shots and had no issues with them. So that's 1, 2, 3 now. Okay. So if you're doing, so the same rules apply for commercial. So this is a commercial real estate property I'm doing for the warehouse. And this is a cardinal shot. So with a cardinal shot, what realtors want to see and what the standard for the industry is, you need about 1/6 of the horizon in your shot, at least 1/6, no more than 1/3. And you want the building placed in the center, and then you need to see your property line. So the building's in the center third of your picture, and you need to pull your drone far enough back to get that shot. This shot was taken at about 100 feet. And then you need to work your way around the building, and you need to do the same thing. So that top white arrow says shot must cover entire property line. So there you can see that we have the property line in the shot. So it's from the parking lot to the parking lot. It's not the building. And again, the corner of the building, I try to put square in the middle of the middle third and with a 1/6 horizon. So some people say, well, what about the hills? Yeah, there's mountains in California. You sort of at that point have to anticipate where the horizon would be. So you don't want to just add a bunch of sky just because the mountains are in your way. But as we go around the building, you can see the shots that I had to do for this building. So this building was just photography. And so I made $200 for this. and I did it on, for most of it, it's a battery. You track around the building, you line up the shot, and you take the photo. And so, considering you can basically make $200 in what amounts to 30 minutes, and then, meet your friends for a drink afterwards or go to lunch. So you go all the ways around the building. So you understand now when I was talking about the flat side and the corners. So this is a flat side. I don't really know. I think it's facing south. I'm not sure. Same thing with this. Of course, this building has to screw me up a little bit and have a flat side on a corner. So yeah, there's that. And of course, and then as a good pilot, you need to watch out for all your stuff. But this is low hanging fruit, right? This is easy to do, and you all can do this. And here's what's crazy now. Talking about low entry for this industry. You can do this now with a Mavic Mini 2. So Mavic Mini 2 has got the Oculus now, so it can fly further. It's got a 4K camera, and it's got a 18 megapixel, I think, for photos. So most residential realtors don't want video anyway. They just want pictures. A lot of commercial realtors want video because they're making it as part of a presentation package. But certainly for residential real estate, you guys can get away with doing it with a $500 drone. I wish I could have. Back when I started with real estate, there's a Phantom 3 with a 2.5K camera, and the pictures look like mud. So they really weren't happy about that. The next way you're going to make a little bit of money here, and the reason I know this is like, I don't want to do real estate. I know you don't. I know you want to do TV shows and you want to do weddings and you want to do live events, but there is a method. There is a layered method to my madness here. And I will reference the great Miyagi from the original Karate Kid. And when he taught karate, it was like paint the fence and sand the desk and wax the car. And so then when the Karate Kid got all upset and said, Miyagi, I want you to teach me karate. And so Miyagi says, goes to hit him. And then he says, paint the fence. And Karate Kid's, he paints the fence, but he blocks Miyagi's shot. So basically what Miyagi was saying was like, hey, all these little things you did were just layered lessons for you to know karate. So I'm starting with real estate and I'm starting with these photos because of this. Every single one of those photos, you are going to need to recreate in every single project you do. Whether you're doing a wedding, a football game, a concert, the shots are always going to be the same. Now, I know the creative people out there right now are probably ready just to turn off the switch or do something in the chat or whatever, but I'm not talking about creativity right now. I'm talking about technical cinematography and photography that you will get the shots that you need to get paid. When you're doing an event, when I'm doing a house, I don't want to sit there for 3 hours looking at the artistic look that I'm trying to create with my camera. No, I want to be there for 20 minutes. I want to make my $150. I want to go home. So the same thing goes with any kind of event you're going to do. You're still going to need to get main shots from the right, from the left, from the center, overhead, behind, from one corner, from another corner, but they're always the same. The key with shooting these shots and making money off of them is to make sure you follow the rule of thirds in your monitor. Make sure your subjects are lined up right so that you get a good shot. You don't want to cut off part of a football field. You don't want to cut off part of a building. You certainly don't want to cut off the head of a bride or something, because I've done weddings too. And you need to be a special kind of person to do a wedding. I am not that person. So I did one wedding. However, it was in Maui. It was Hawaii. So, there's that. But however, they ain't happening again. No weddings. For you drone pilots, they pay really good. Weddings pay good. So anyway, so that's why I'm kind of talking about real estate photography. It's an easy entry point. But if you're going to shoot for the news, local news, there's a lot of local news that hire drone photographers. They will pay you, but you still need to worry about getting the same similar kind of shots. Okay. Don't cut off your horizon. Don't cut off part of the image. So there's those things. And then local TV commercials. We'll talk about that for a little bit. So let's get into some cinematography here, okay? I'm going to show you gimbal settings real quick, all right? Just, you need to know these. Again, I know we've had some creative people all this week. This isn't, to reiterate, this is not creative. Sometimes when I do these seminars in person, I get just bombarded with creative questions, setting the ISO on the camera, the aperture on the camera. No. Automatic, get it done, do it right, get paid. Okay, so let me show you your gimbal settings. Everybody asks about gimbal settings. Okay, in the little text on the right hand side and in the text below, I sort of explain, what these things do and why you want to do them. But here's my settings, right? So gimbal pitch, just set it to 10. Trust me, right? Just trust me on that. So what does the gimbal pitch do? This is where you control the speed at which the gimbal tilts up and down. So the gimbal on most drones move up and down. The worst thing that you could do with the gimbal moving up and down is to have it stop abruptly. So if you set it to 10, I'm referencing DJI drones. The other drones are very similar. So, but I fly the DJI drones, so that's why I'm using it as a reference. Okay. Make sure you enable your gimbal tilt to go up at least if you're doing a Mavic, up 30 degrees so that you can get a nice pan up if you need to. So you set that on. And then gimbal pitch smoothness, you want to set to 20. So it's just to make everything smooth. What we want to do is when we're doing videos, we want to do smooth videos. Okay, that's the key. If they're not smooth, if the camera stops abruptly, whether you're doing a house or you're doing a freaking TV commercial, the director, the real estate agent, nobody's going to want it. Think of the drone as being on a tripod, right? And you're moving the drone to the left or the right, or you're moving a camera to the left or the right on the ground, and it's a nice smooth tripod. And then you're on a sidewalk and you hit one of those sidewalk separators, and the camera just stops instantly. So that image is just going to shake. It's going to stop. It's the same thing with a drone. When you're moving the camera around and it just stops abruptly, it's distracting and you won't be able to use that video. So when you use these settings right here, and I'm just telling you what to use. When you use a 10, you set it on and you set to 20, these settings, you'll get some nice smooth shots with your gimbal. You'll be able to move it all around. Okay, really simple. So let's get into basic cinematography here. I'm going to give you a basic crash course. I'm going to show you 2 shots that you need to do that will help you with everything. So hold on 1 second here. So, okay, so the real estate photography that I just showed you can be used for shooting any kind of event. And again, the way to make quick money in this industry, and it's sad that you potentially in some areas of the country, you can't do this now, but there's, I was making a couple of dollars shooting little league football, high school football, legally I have a night waiver. So behind the stands, at the end of the goal lines, getting those kind of shots. I did the training for the Pac-12. I did all their baseball training camps, which is all, they're not doing that anymore. They're not doing little league football anymore. I was doing concerts actually for the parent company of Interdrone, night concerts. We were doing a whole bunch of cool stuff outside. And the photography, the basic photography that you guys can practice doing your real estate and making a few dollars is the same kind of photography and drone flying techniques that you can use to do those other jobs. Let's get into cinematography though, because that's what everybody wants to do, right? So there's a couple of cinematography. You can still have realtors. You can, but what I find where you can make a couple of dollars in, again, you need to do the legwork. Nobody's just gonna, and forget freaking Instagram and all that other kind of crap. You're never gonna make any money off of that. What you're gonna need to do is if you wanna do local television commercials, go to a car dealership, tell them you're a drone cinematographer, photographer, tell them that you will do drone videos of his dealership for free if they include him in his next television commercial. First of all, car dealerships spend a lot of money on car commercials. Secondly, they're notoriously cheap. Sorry if you own a car dealership out there. So the idea that they can get this free cinematography, their dealerships, they're going to love that. Once you do that, you are now in the database of the local television commercial, local television station. So the local TV station and cable, Spectrum, Comcast, whoever your cable provider is, Warner. So the idea is they will now know that you provided the video of the aerials for that dealership. And when they get their next job and their next dealership and they don't have a drone cinematographer, you're going to be the guy that they're calling, right? So they're one of the easiest access points to local television is through the local television advertiser. And the biggest advertiser, outdoor advertiser on local television is car dealers. You can also volunteer your services for the news. It's hard to break into news video. They don't want to pay. Apparently now you can do local news by just submitting your video on your cell phone to their website. However, there are some big projects, there are some big jobs. So it's good for them to know. There's there's stringers, there's people that get paid, you know, $100 a shot or $100 a video, things like that. But it takes a while to work your way into that organization, you know, into the organization of news media. But it's there, it's really there. And if you do the work and you do the shots, you'll get the hang of it. So let's get into a basic shot that I like to show here. It's a tracking shot or a trucking shot. It's simply moving left to right and right to left. Now, if you, one of the students that have taken my class, you'll know that the most important thing to me, and it's just, I'm a stickler for this, is flying a straight line. Whether you're flying a straight line to the left and right, or you're flying a straight line forward or backwards. In filming, you're either tracking left or tracking right. You're dollying forward and dollying backwards. Trust me, in the world of cinema, you cannot be off center. You need to follow a straight line going left and right and forward and backwards. So you need to work on your flying if you can't do that. Okay, but if you can do that, then what happens is you end up doing shots like this that are key for commercial real estate cinematography. So this is a tracking shot, and I'm tracking the second building, not the first building. I use the first building to line up on. And again, what we simply do is we follow the rule of thirds. So the idea with this building is just to track the front of the building. And again, you can see I have about a very, very narrow band of sky or in the background. So it's a reference point. So there's a tracking shot. It's the simplest thing you can do. Most realtors, most residentials, they want you to do always around the building. And then you don't want to stop until the building is to the far right of your frame, just about where I'm going to stop right there. So again, your key is the rule of thirds. Use your grid to line up the building. Use your grid to line up a building. This is the construction company that I work for. And I do the cardinal photos of these buildings and I do the video of these buildings, and it's a $500 job. It takes me 2 batteries. I'm out of there in 40 minutes. And for this company, I've been working for them now for over 2 years, and it's usually 2 jobs a month. So these kind of jobs are out there. A good way to find them is like I did. You just drive around construction sites and write down the name of the construction companies on the big signs that they have in front of the buildings. I mean, I did a lot of legwork with this, and these things didn't happen overnight. Obviously, I've been in this industry for 7 years, and I've had my license for 3 years, but that's kind of how it's done. All right, I'm going to show you another video now. The second most popular. So that's the most popular video. That video is used in every movie and every TV show you've ever watched. In the past, they've been using gimbals, steady cams, and the reason they call it a tracking shot is because the camera's on a track. So that's a really important shot. You can do it with landscape. I did a shot in Glamis a few days ago. We went out to Glamis, and if you're not from California, it's where the giant sand dunes are. And a good way to show depth of field is to do a tracking shot of an object that's close to you, that's in your foreground. So like this, you have objects in the background. It's a great way to show 3-dimensional depth. Tracking shots are wonderful for that. All right, the next most important shot you're going to do, and every realtor wants you to do this, is a dolly shot. So a dolly shot, for those of you that don't know what it is, it's just simply flying forward or backwards in a straight line. Again, these need to be straight lines. So for those of you who haven't taken one of my classes, take your freaking fingers off the left-hand stick, you know, the one that turns the nose of the drone, fly the drone with just the right stick. And if you find yourself off center, just compensate to the right or the left using the right stick only, so you're not moving the camera. So that's a little tip from one of my classes. So here's a dolly shot. So I start at the corner of this building. Again, I go with the rule of thirds. They didn't want me to fly from the front directly to the back. They wanted me to angle in from where the main part of the building will be to where the end of it is. When you're doing a construction dolly, you want to start off the property line and you want to fly all the ways back across the building to the end of the property line. And you always want to do this slow and smooth, okay? So basically, that's a dolly shot. So your realtor is going to ask you, if you're looking at real estate to get in and to make some quick dollars, you know, when you're sitting around and you're not doing anything, a good way to plan it out and base your rates is saying, hey, look, I'll do all your listing shots, your cardinal shots. I'll charge you 150. I'll do videos of your property. I'll give you a tracking shot of the front from right to left. I'll fly over your property. I might do a reverse and a reveal. You can do an automatic orbit or point of interest. I'm not discussing that here because that's automatic. And then you can give them a bill. You can say, look, I can do this for 300. I can do this for 500, or I can do this for $150. Okay. Now, the reason why I bring that up, oh, one more shot. Oh no, the reason why I bring that up is that those shots are the building blocks to professional cinematography. If you're doing professional cinematography, you will do a tracking shot. You will track a car or a boat or an actor. If you're doing a car commercial, you will track that car. You'll do a dolly shot. You will follow that car. You will lead that car. You will fly towards that car. The same thing with whatever event you're doing. So if you can nail those shots in real estate and make money while you're doing it, then you can certainly nail those shots when you're doing a commercial. So here's a rise and reverse or a reveal. I like to call it a reveal of that same building. Again, you want to keep everything centered in the third part of in the middle third of the camera, and you want to go back slow and steady. In this case, the maximum altitude of that location is 100 feet, and I have to clear those power lines that are at 75 feet, and then pull back enough that I can get the entire building and property in the shot. So I showed you those 3 shots because that's what realtors are going to ask you for. That's what commercial contractors are going to ask you for. And those 3 shots, as you get more proficient on them, become what you would see in professional cinematography. So that's the low-hanging fruit. That's how you get paid. That's real estate. That's residential real estate. That's commercial real estate. I can't get any more simpler, any more defined as that. Now, I'm going to show you what we're going to do now. We're moving into the next phase. We're talking about television commercials, local video production, and event production. And this can be anything. It can be powerboat races, car races. Well, a couple of my students film for Apple Valley Speedway now. They go up there and they film for the race cars. So that's what they need to do. So we talked about tracking, right? I showed you tracking on a building. Well, the exact same kind of tracking is what you would use to track a vehicle, just like this. Okay. I just got, my producers have told me I got about 7 more minutes. So I'm going to blow right into the next one. So that was tracking. Let's take a look at real quick here, your next professional shot that works off of the same shot you do in real estate. And then I'll tell you where I got my freaking, my shirt with Santa reindeers and drones. So this is a dolly shot, but it's also a fly through. So what you're doing is you're tracking the boat and the target, which is the guy in the raft. Okay, let's talk Christmas. So this is the Santa drone shirt. And if I put on camera number 2, you'll see right there, that's a Santa, and that Santa is flying a drone. And I'd like to personally thank my producer, Dawn Elias, who you guys probably have seen at many, many, many of the trade shows. She always works the booth. It's just part-time job for her. She works a lot of the production jobs that I do. And she's always there, setting my schedule. So it's kind of weird this time. So they said I had like 5 minutes to go. Well, the last thing I'm going to leave you guys with is you need to do a reel. You need to do a reel, right? And there's a template for that. I've been in the industry for 20 years. when you pitch a TV show, this is for real. I've done this a dozen times. When you pitch a TV show, you get 60 seconds. And I've walked into Fox and they have a sand clock timer, and your trailer, your pitch has to be a 60-second video clip. This is no BS. So you take it, they take it when you walk in, and they put your thumb drive in their screen, and they turn it over and they play it 60 seconds. Man, it has to hit all the bullet points. If it doesn't, you're out before you even have a chance to talk. Okay. So first of all, thank you, Dawn, for my Christmas presents. So this is the reel is 90 seconds. You get 90 seconds to tell them who you are. So here's my reel. And what you need to do with a reel is it needs to be impactful. You need to let them know the kind of work you do, how you do your work, and you want to make sure that they don't turn it off in the 90 seconds that they're watching it. So hopefully this reel will keep you and will keep you focused for 90 seconds, which should bring me to the end of this thing, and I can try to answer any questions that you guys have. So here we go. My 90 second reel. So was this fun? I hope it was fun. And I'm the last guy, which is very exciting. And normally if we were at we were in Vegas, or I guess this year was going to be in Dallas, the little trays would come along with all the shots on it. And of course, I'd have a few of my friends there. We'd be doing shots and we drink a beer. Of course, it'd be illegal at this point to fly your drone because 8 hours between throttle to bottle. But that's pretty much what I got. And I think I'm almost on time. Let me see. Question from Anthony: is the Mavic Mini sufficient to get started in real estate? Yes, it is. Not the Mini 1. It has to be the Mini 2. So I have a Mini 2. I did a bunch of pictures with it. So I have a Mini 2, and it works really well. I'm actually using it now as my backup drone. One other thing, and I don't think it's on my site, but I do have. I know we're not. I don't know if we're. I guess in virtual it doesn't matter if you plug something. So I'll plug this real quick. I don't know how to type it up, but I actually have a social media site. It's an educational social media site. I designed it last year for my students at Grossmont College who were kicked out of, when they shut everything down, there was no way to keep the energy going and keep the training going. So I have a site called droneconnects.com, DRONE connects.com. It is an educational social media site. It is free. It is private. So you guys can click on the site and ask for an invite. And because you're from Interdrone and you were one of the wonderful group of people that attended my seminar, you can have a free invite to that. What do we do there? About twice a month, I host a Zoom TV show where I give tips and tricks. I also, out of that site, hire interns, paid interns. I also, out of that site, hire people to be my VOs or be on production shoots. We also have fly-ins. If you're in the Southern California area, we've gone San Diego by the bay. We've gone out to the desert. We've gone to Glamis. Sometimes it's 3 people in the fly-in. Sometimes it's 30. So the COVID kind of messed things up a little bit with that, but it's a very interactive group. There are 225 something members on that site. There are pilots and students from all over the country. And specifically, if you're in the California area, it's free. Feel free to join it. Again, it's droneconnects.com. I don't know. I don't even think I put it up on my virtual website. But Leslie, am I supposed to ask if we have any more questions, or am I getting close to my sign off point? Great show, huh? Oh,
I think
happy holidays,
we're good.
Merry Christmas, stay safe, wear a mask,
Belinda,
all that kind of stuff, right? I don't want
Belinda
anybody,
says to remind you about your feature on Vertical Space e-magazine.
Interdrone, and I don't see why they wouldn't, will have me back in the real world where we'll be able to go on a stage and we'll be able to talk about all this kind of stuff. Did I do good, or what am I supposed to do at this point? I can keep talking for hours. I teach, I get a notice. Let's see what's going on. But remind them about your feature on Vertical Space e-magazine. Oh, I'm on my feature. That's on that's Women in Drones. So Women in Drones did a feature on me. It's a great, so if you, Women in Drones, great organization. Of course, it's fantastic for women, but Women in Drones, I love them. I've been working with them since they started. And you're perfect. You can close out. Oh, thank you. Anyway, so plug. What's great about, I'll tell you what I think is great about Interdrone. One, I've made so many friends in this industry. And two, I wouldn't have this career if it wasn't for Interdrone, because the guy that started it actually believed that they needed a camera guy that flew a drone at one of these trade shows instead of all the military and cops and all those kind of guys. So forever in my heart, I love Interdrone. I want all of you guys to have a really safe holiday. If you have any questions that I cannot help you with here, then maybe visit me at my trade booth or leave a message there, or go ahead and join Drone Connects. So if you haven't had a chance to see me in person or gone to one of my Zoom TV shows or something like that, I'd like to close out with something. I like to close the show with something very intelligent and articulate and motivating. So enjoy the close of my seminar today.
That's all, folks.